Word. This morning, we're going to talk about no limits. No limits. The text, the talk, the takeaway. I'm going to give you the text. We're going to have a talk. Then you're going to have a takeaway. 1 Corinthians 6:20. 1 Corinthians 6:20. I want you to hear it. You were bought at a price. I want you to catch that. You were bought at a price. Therefore, as a result of you being bought at a price, this is what you need to do. Glorify God in 3 ways. In your body, your spirit, and understand that they belong to God. I want to add to that Galatians 3:13 through 15. Christ bought us with his blood. I want to add one more text because I want you to get what we're going to talk about, no limits, this morning. Romans 5:8. But God proved his love while we were yet sinners. He sent Christ to die for us. Let's break this down. When it comes to us, God has no limits. When it comes to us, he has no limits. What did he do? He said, look, I need to be in relationship with you so much so. There is no price that I'm not willing to pay. I have no limits when it comes to you. You ever wanted to be loved to a point where someone says, you know what? There is nothing you can ask me to do. There is nothing that I will not do. There are no limits on my love. That's what God says. He rolled the dice, Romans 5:8. He rolled the dice on the relationship that he would have with us without no guarantee that we would want to be in relationship with him. Who does that? Who does that? God says, I have no limits when it comes to you. At a price, not a particular price, but at a price because it's priceless, I'm going to give my son for you. I have no limits. Therefore, there should be a response. And 1 Corinthians 6:20 gives us that response. He says, as a result, you need to glorify God in your body, in your spirit, and the third thing is you need to know that you belong to God. Here's the talk about the text. The first thing is there should be no limits in your body as to how you respond to the limitless love of God. What do you mean? How do you treat your temple right now? How do you treat your temple? He gave us this. We only get only one per copy. Now, you can have some replacement parts, but for the most part, baby, this is the only temple you're going to get. What are you doing to show that I am all out? I am going all in. I will not restrain myself at all to glorify God in my body, to show that because he was limitless in showing love to me, I'm going to be limitless in showing him through my body. Through my body. More often than not, we just simply do not see that way. We put anything we want in our bodies. We do much more, whatever we want to do with our bodies. Don't give our bodies the rest that it needs. We just carry all on. And then when it starts beating up, when it starts breaking down, we start falling on our knees. Lord, fix my body. Well, God is saying, look, you needed to have no limits on keeping it together when I gave it to you. That's the first thing. That's the first thing, is have no limits in your body in glorifying God because he has no limits when it comes to you. The second thing is this. There should be no limits in living out the spirit in the will that he has for your life. Notice what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 6:20. It says, you were bought at a price. Therefore, what is the therefore? Glorify God in your body, now in your spirit. Do you have restraints and limits as to how you're going to worship, how you're going to give, how you're going to share of what God has given you? Do you restrain when it comes down to those things in the spirit? Do you have a limit as to how long I'm going to pray? How much am I going to read? Am I going to go extra? Am I going to go above and beyond for my spirit man? For my spirit man needs to be fed just like my body needs to be fed. And if he has no limits on us, then there should be no limits in response to that. Here's the third thing that I need you to get. There should be no limits in serving, because this shows, catch this, 1 Corinthians 6:20 says, you were bought at a price, therefore glorify God in your body, in your spirit, which are God's. How do people know that we belong to God? That we love one another, that we serve one another, that people see the manifestation of God's love in our lives as we serve one another. If ever there is a time that we need to serve one another, it's right now. Have you looked around? There are people who are hurting. Have you looked around? There are people who have lost their jobs. Have you looked around? There are people who are maybe put out of their homes. Have you looked around to see, how can I serve God that others may see God in my life? That they will see that I have no limits as to how I'm going to serve. What's your takeaway this morning? I want you to get this. I want you to listen. This is old school going to come at you. Take the governor off and break the speed limits when it comes to living for God. What's the governor? Little story, and then we'll wrap it up. When I was a younger guy in North Carolina, when I grew up in high school, they would permit, believe this or not, students to be bus drivers. I wanted to drive bus. It was a great way to make extra money. 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds driving other kids. No way today. But then they did do that. And we realized that they would put a governor on the accelerator. So if you could slam it, but it wasn't going to go but so fast because there was a governor on it. Well, I didn't get the job. I was playing basketball, couldn't do the job anyhow. But I really wanted to, because everybody wanted to get that bus and see how fast it would go. And it wasn't going to go but so fast because there was a governor on it. It keeps you from accelerating. Well, take the governor off your life right now, that you can break the speed limit and live for God. The Lord be with you today. May his face shine upon you and give you peace. Let's go into this day with no limits. I'll see you tomorrow morning with more Morning Manna. God bless you. Share the manna.